So, hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco here from Macabre Daily, and I have the honor and the privilege of being joined today by Harry Kümel, who is writer, director, cinematographer, and responsible for what I would say is arguably one of the most well-regarded vampire films in the genre, Daughters of Darkness. But we're also here to talk about his other masterwork, Malpertius, which is receiving a brand new 4K restoration courtesy of Radiance Films. And those will be screening at FrightFest this year, and you'll also be able to pick them up on physical media come October. So, Harry, congratulations on these two releases, and thank you for being here.
Well, it's pleasant to know that old films of mine that are more than half a century old still are going strong. That is, that's the only comment I can make on that.
Well, you're right because it's not something that every filmmaker gets to experience,
That,
and so
that
I
is
think
correct.
you're absolutely right that this is it is such a great honor to have your works being appreciated. And on that note, I'm curious to know how the relationship between you and Radiance Films began to begin work on restoring these two films.
Radiance didn't restore the films. That were restoration of Dots of Darkness was done in Rome, 3 years, 4 years, to end of 2019, in December, and the restoration of Malpertuis was done last year by the Belgian Film Museum, a film archive. And that is the material and also Dots of Darkness has been taken over by the Belgian, by the film archive, and they have the basic material. That is
Yeah.
so. It's not
Well,
Radiance. So Radiance bought the film, and it's a big difference. The but the it doesn't matter who. No, nobody asked in which lab an analog film was developed to to be interested. Nobody is interested in that kind of thing.
well, I don't know. I think there are some folks who are certainly interested in the behind the scenes of how, original camera negatives are turned into these new 4K, beautiful
That,
looking
that is
pieces.
different. That is
Yeah.
different. I don't think Malpertuis is in 4K. Malpertuis is in 4K, but not in high D. Like
UHD,
of
right?
darkness is as the whole thing, but but it's 4K only, of course, and it's it's work, and fortunately, I'm still alive and can be present and say what I want, because unfortunately many films, certainly color films, and their sound does not is not restored. That's at the same not stored well, and that's at the same time the good thing and the bad thing about the digital transfer, because things happen, because it's another support, and one has to take great care with that, but it's arrangeable, and you can achieve then a result that is better than the original from the negative from film. That is certain.
Well, I know that it's good that you cleared that up because there is the 4K of Daughters of Darkness that was released a few years ago. I still have on my shelf, so it's good to know that that's the same transfer. But I think when it comes to Malpertius,
That is the
oh,
cinematic. That is absolutely the latest, but that has not been distributed commercially, and at Radiance, who does it the first time for the British territory.
Ah, okay. Because I think here in the States, there's like the Blue Underground has the rights to Daughters of Darkness, but
No,
um,
no, they have only the American rights
yeah.
for it. They don't
Now,
have the European rights. The world rights are belonging to me.
well, that's good. You can retain the worldwide rights, so you can always still get, not just the recognition, but also the financial credit for these works. And I'm curious to know how you feel about these films, 54 years later.
Well, very simple. I'm very proud, not proud, no, no, because it's not my fault that it happened. I am very happy that they're still alive. That you cannot say about many films. And that with such a small output like mine, it's fortunate. I'm not the only one, fortunately, in film history, but it's very good to belong to uh, those filmmakers whose films continue to have good life.
Yeah, I mean, it is certainly something that, like we said before, something everyone I think aspires to as a filmmaker. And while I think a lot of people may know you best from your work on Daughters of Darkness, because of just how much of attention it's gotten over the years and different releases, but Malpertuis has been somewhat elusive. I think it received a DVD release a while back, but hasn't been much since. And I'm curious to know kind of why Malpertuis hasn't been
Oh,
as
that is
available as it was.
that's an easy thing to tell. The film was co-produced between main co-produced by Belgium and France, with a little participation of Germany. The Belgian producer, when the French producer disappeared after many years, the Belgian producer thought it was still at the VHS time, and Belgian producer thought he could bring out a VHS of the film, which was a logical idea, and had not taken in account that there were companies who bought up whole portfolios of films everywhere, mostly for uh, whitewashing money. They're practically none. They have nothing to do with cinema, more with the money thing. And
Yeah.
he had not taken in account that, and these people like vultures sprung on him. And him, Belgian producer, being a very good man, was overwhelmed by that. And he didn't tell me. He would have told me. I would have used some influence I had in France as a filmmaker to say, but he didn't. And he was drawn into a lawsuit. And when he died, he always found it the best thing he's ever done. And his daughters inherited, of course, their films. But they were so afraid of what happened to his father, to their father, that they didn't dare to do something. Now came the
Wow.
moment that the inheritors of the novel asked their author's rights. And then the sisters did not have the money to pay that after all these years. And then, well, it was a labyrinthine story, but finally they have made an arrangement with the Belgian Film Archive to have possession of the material. And I think I don't know how their deal was made. That is outside my knowledge, but I know that there's an arrangement, financial arrangement, probably that the Cinematic, the Film Museum, Film Archive pays them something like that. They have to do, they still have to ask me if I want the film to be shown somewhere, which as a director is normal, and have an arrangement with and they cannot stand in the way, the producer's daughters, that I can show the film wherever I want. And the deal between Radiance was not made with me, like Lords of Darkness, or my company, a company which represents my interest, but with the daughters of that producer. That's the whole story. Nothing very special, spectacular, but it took ages, and it was
Yeah,
extremely frustrating not to be able to bring. The film existed. The Belgian Film Archive had already brought out a DVD with a very good, which I supervised, a very good grading. We graded films at that time, analog films. And it was very good and was very successful and doesn't exist anymore because every exemplar was sold without a problem. My films are always, so that's no problem. And and probably they had made an arrangement with the sisters there too. I don't know. That's out of my realm and my interest. And
well,
but not being able to show the film, but I could show the film on that DVD because I was the author of the film. I didn't need to ask anyone's permission as long as it was not a commercial showing, of course,
right.
when it was on DVD. And then after we made the restoration, because I've supervised the restoration, I've paid my way there and everything, of course, I'm doubly allowed uh, to say yes or no. But the deal itself, it's not with me. Mm.
Huh.
And I don't care. I mean,
Well,
and
it's I think it's interesting to folks to hear just how a film that was made 50, 50 plus years ago can sometimes be hidden from the public simply because of the back end business dealings that are tied to it. And having just seen Malpertuis for the first time recently and the old DVD version of it, I'm really excited to see the new Blu-ray of it because the colors are so wonderful and this production design and the locations are so
well,
they will look so much better, I feel like, in with this new work.
well,
And
well, you will be surprised, I can assure you. If you've seen the DVD, you will be because, of course, when I'm present at the restoration, with my last film, which will be done at the end of this year, I will, the people say, it looks like another film, but that's normal because digital grading and can is far superior than the analog grading. That is true. People who say that film, certainly nowadays, is more important or more interesting, they are ridiculous. But apart from no, it's first of all why be retrograde in this? It's like the vinyl phenomenon. Now, vinyl sounds slightly different but a good CD. And CDs don't exist practically anymore. But we now listen on on something in
on,
the air,
on streaming, right?
and that sounds wonderful, and you get the full scope of the sound, and so with all the sound, and that's it. And the restoration of a film is something extremely important. It's even more important if the film, like my last movie called Eline Vere, which is based on a famous Dutch novel, was shot in Super 35. In fact, because there was part for television, then this was quite something. In fact, the framing was for scope format 235, 1:235, not 4:3 at the time was television format, but can you imagine that you frame at the same time for 4:3 Academy and you full Academy because it's Super 35 is that and 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 scope. Now we had to rush the end because there had been problems with editing, etc., etc. And there was a premiere for the then Dutch Queen Beatrix in February, and they had to rush towards the end, the Dutch producer, co-producer, and therefore it was not done on scope because that was a system that was at the time done in Sweden, and that the anamorphic copy maker. And so it was done on 185. And now, with the restoration, it will be in 238. And all the people who are restoring it saying, but it's another film. What's happening? It's another film. Only one time we did it in projection with a frame, with a real frame, and projected it in 235. And even the producer said, how come? And the full version, which is 3 hours of that, not three times 50 minutes. And they all say, my goodness. And it looks shorter in the long version and in the short version. That's always the case when it's well constructed, naturally. And therefore it's very interesting. People will be very surprised. I was surprised myself because I didn't think a lot of good things about that film, because things that happened during the shooting that I didn't like. And when the people see that one, so I'll have 3 films that will survive. That's very nice.
Well, that is Harry. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure speaking to you about these. I'll look forward to your third film being re-released later this year. And again, I hope you soak up all of the appreciation you're getting for your films at FrightFest later this month, late in August. And really appreciate the work and the mark you've left on the genre. So thank you so much for the time.
That's my pleasure. This is very agreeable. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you.